It's Lisa Rothman, the founder of StopFamilyConflict.com. Okay, here's the situation. Hannah and Philip have 3 kids. Joey's 6, Nico's 4, and Cassie is 2 years old. And those kids love using tools. And so what Philip had done was he had put a whole collection of tools, including an axe, whittling knives, a saw, screwdrivers, a hammer, tool belts. He'd put them on a shelf that was accessible to Nico and to Joey, but was not accessible to Cassie. And you think, okay, well, that's going to work out okay. Unfortunately, when Nico and Joey took some of the tools off the shelf, they forgot to put them back, and they were in a spot where Cassie could get to them. So Philip, understandably, was very, very alarmed. What he did with that alarm was he made a unilateral power over decision to put all of the tools into a locked box. And the only way to make a unilateral decision stick is through enforcement, which is exhausting and does not contribute to peace of mind, because if you're having to enforce something, you're having to always be vigilant. And that is exactly what has happened in this situation, because Nico and Joey do not like the locked box strategy at all. They were not consulted about it, and they have been putting considerable time and energy into figuring out ways to get into that locked box without their dad finding out. So, and this is creating a lot of conflict in the house. So, we had a family meeting to figure out if we could come up with another solution that would meet everybody's needs and that everybody would buy into, because that is the way to actually make an agreement that sticks. So I began the family meeting talking to Hannah and Joey.
I only want Cassie to use them if we've planned when to do it and are very ready.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
Like
I'm hearing.
like if she wants to, like, I don't know, cut a stick in half, I don't want her to just go to the place where the tools are, take it out and do it without anybody knowing. I want
Mm-hmm.
people to at least be aware of it. I mean, I want a big person around, but like without help. As in, like, a big person can be around. We will like do it when like somebody's cooking, when in the kitchen, mum's getting Papa's cooking in the kitchen, mum's getting Cassie to sleep in the bed, and we're out. Me and Nico are out in the garden. We wouldn't do it without somebody watching. We want somebody to be there watching, but we don't want any help like Cassie would get.
What I'm hearing in
Like,
your.
if friends come over, I'm not going to want friends to suddenly open a box that's locked, which we haven't agreed with that they're going to do. Of course, we're making agreements here about people in our family, me and Nico being able to access, but we haven't yet mentioned other friends who come and visit. So I want it to
Totally.
be to make the box key unaccessible just by unhooking it, putting it somewhere else. I want it
Right.
to be able to be unaccessible if it needs to be easily and quite quickly.
I do, Hannah, my hunch that this is actually quick and easy and reliable way to have access to the box and to also make it inaccessible. I'm guessing that's actually not controversial.
It's not controversial.
Yeah, right? Totally. And Joey, like, loving the problem solving here.
We have tried various things like putting some of the tools on an accessible to Joey Nico shelf, but that's not accessible to Cassia. And the tools were taken and used in ways that we hadn't agreed upon, and then they didn't return to the shelf. And then Cassia would pick them up from somewhere else.
Do you mean the two wells?
Yeah, the tool belts. So
Mm.
yeah, there's something about like accessing the tools and then also having the capacity to track where they are and put them away again.
Could you check with one of your parents and see, hey, can you watch me? I want to use this.
That would work for me.
That would work for you. Okay, I want to check with Hannah, your assessment. Do you trust that? that this agreement that Joey has the capacity to follow through on that agreement?
I think Joey has the capacity, and I don't think that Nico has the capacity. And I think if Nico were to check and hear a number of no's, at some point he would say, "That's too many no's. I don't have time to wait for this. I want to use the
And
tools now,"
he'll just take them without.
because he's got a big hunger to use the tools.
And he's not got as much practice in waiting as I have.
And I don't think there's as much capacity in the field to like provide as many openings for using the tools as Joey and Nico would like.
Well, as Nico
So-
especially would like. I only need one opening per day. And more if it's possible. But at least I need one. They could be none, but not none for a number of days in a row.
Yeah.
It can be one
Right.
where I have a chance
Right.
where I use them, then a day when I don't, then a day when I do,
Right.
then a day when I don't.
This is where when we now want to imagine Nico is here. And Nico, we say to Nico that, like a piece about for this agreement to work, older people have sufficient capacity to watch in a way that's sustainable for them.
And
What do
how
we
could that and what could that way be is what I'm curious about and what
Me
I'm
too.
about. What that way could be, cause the only thing I can think of that would mean that they can sufficiently do it a lot of times is cameras, but I don't think I don't think we're going to put up cameras. I don't think it's important enough. This agreement is important enough for us to buy camera.
Okay,
Because
but I actually want to pause on this idea because I'm like, that's pretty ingenious.
I don't want to have any. I don't want to have cameras involved. I'd rather they stand and actually watch.
So even so this proposal, because is the piece about the cameras, it's because if something does go wrong, the problem with the camera is they're not there to immediately, fix it. Like, and like, intervene quickly enough.
Like a camera would mean they can see, but they can't see at the moment when it happened.
Exactly. They can't act quickly
Especially
enough.
if it's a camera trap. And then they'll have to come back to
Right.
it and check that and then they won't be able to help as soon as they see what happens.
On the nose. Yep. Totally.
And the other thing is I'm worried about there not being capacity to check the cameras, even if there are
Yeah,
cameras.
totally. But also, like, what
didn't
good
like
what
the
does it do
camera
to check the
idea.
camera after the fact? Oh, you cut your hand off. Let's watch that tape again. That doesn't sound like much fun or particularly effective. So, Hannah, hearing this, are you having any ideas?
I wonder about being really, really intentional about like proactively finding time slots where we prioritize Nico having access to the tools so that he gets like a kind of baseline that need met at a baseline level, and see whether that kind of makes it easier for him to wait than for other opportunities. Could just make him more hungry to use the tools. I don't know.
What can make him more hungry?
Having a few more chances.
Okay, let's go slow here. So Hannah, are you concerned that like if he like it's almost like he's got an insatiable hunger to use these tools and it's just going to sort of take over, you're going to be doing something you actually didn't sign up for. It's just not going to be sustainable for you. And that what I heard in what you were saying, but I want to check it out is that if he gets a taste, he's gonna like it's just he's not gonna stop and it's gonna like take over everything. So it actually could be if you open up the door more, it's almost like a tease for him, but it's also like potentially like you'll never get the green back in the bottle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we've tried um seeing if there is a point where he's had enough for a day. I don't think we've gone that route. Can you just sit still for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that at some point he would say, "Okay, I've done enough for the day and I'm ready to go and play Lego or whatever." Um, but yeah, there's a part of me, I guess, that's feeling a little bit overwhelmed at the idea of me trying to watch over or supervise Joey and Nico using, I don't know, hammers or things like that outside in the garden all day, maybe while I'm also dealing with Cassia. Um, yeah,
Well, Mama.
I don't know.
Well, Mama, it would. Well, Mama, it would be one at a time.
I think I also have low trust that if I say, okay, I'm losing capacity now to watch over you because I want to go and be with Cassia for some reason, I have low trust that you'd be okay with me saying that and that you'd give the tool back.
I'd be okay.
And Nico, you think he'd be okay?
I don't know.
Mm.
I'd. I. My guess would be that he wouldn't.
If Nico wasn't part of this family, I think we'd have a pretty robust agreement right now. But what we've crashed into now is it's a healthy constraint. It's like, what is a proposal that we can come up with
That was
where,
not Nico.
right? And so this is so important that we need to keep figuring something out because we are not going to be leaving Nico behind in this. If this agreement we come up with does not work for Nico, it's not going to work, period. So we are completely, and can I tell you, this is going to, what's going on for Nico is going to make the decision more sustainable
Well,
for everybody. Nico is making this decision really awesome. But we just haven't figured out what the decision's going. We haven't figured it out yet.
I think I still have some questions around um, whether we'll find a way for tool use to stop when the capacity of the adults sort of changes. So, for example, if we started to use, if the small people started to, can you put that down? If the small people started to use tools and then Philip needed to go and do something, how we would say, okay, that's the end and reach an agreement around that, and not slip into, okay, they're using the tools over there and I'm going to go now. Hannah, is that okay with you? And I would end up saying, sure, that's okay, when it actually wouldn't be okay. When I actually wouldn't have the capacity for that. That's what
Which
I'd be worried
which
about.
which creates then tension between you and Philip because you're now signed on for doing the supervision thing when you're not really in
Yeah,
choice about it.
yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And so there's
and nobody wants to do something without having a choice about whether they do it or not.
100%. So we want to make sure everyone has that sense of choice that they're comfortable with. And what we're hearing from your mom is she's concerned that maybe that wouldn't be the case. And can we build something into this proposal that, so here I guess, there are two question marks that I'm having right now. One is, um, like how often is this potentially like going to happen with Philip being like, okay, I know I said I'm doing the watching, but I got to do this other thing. Is that a frequent occurrence? And then the second question I have is Nico's capacity to pause. The idea is that regular slots would get created for working with the tools
Okay.
when you are available.
Mhm.
So there is always an adult to watch Joey and Nico working on projects.
Okay.
Okay. Just hearing that, I'll get into more of the depth of it, but how does that land with you?
That is essentially the yeah, that would regularize what we've been trying to do and address, I think, or at least on the surface level, a lot of the concerns. So as I was sort of parsing this, like after hearing it from you, I thought that like the how to choose it, how to choose the point to start, how to choose the duration, and how to gracefully exit that activity space. I think those would still be the main challenges because it would take some alignment and coordination, planning, scheduling. So there isn't that ambiguity, or it wouldn't be spontaneous, I think, or couldn't be because of what you've just mentioned. And also the agreeing on an exit point and gracefully exiting, I'd still be concerned about that. And that
Yeah.
ties into also honoring a commitment about saying we're going to do this for 45 minutes and then we're all back together.
One of the children suggested something that we tried with screen time, which is that every morning we actually talk about what will work for everybody for that day, so that it's not like a set every day, which we find really hard to stick to because everybody's capacity is different every day. But that helped them feel like they had more choice and power to just do it in the morning every day, figure out when tool time would be.
Well, thank you to Yana's kids for that idea. I'm curious what you think about that, Philip.
I'd love for that to be something that works. We're at the moment seeing that because of the ages and the age differences, that this doesn't really help everyone to be heard quite the same way. Trying to talk about what we do together, I mean, at the beginning, because Joe is very persuasive and he tends to sort of lead a little bit. And we're having some problems or some challenges around the others articulating equally.
So, in terms of, you can actually have, it sounds like it's feasible to have a family meeting in the morning in which tool use could be on the agenda. The challenge is that Nico, there's some way where Nico's needs up to this point in that family meeting have not somehow been, there hasn't been space made to make sure his needs are getting met. Is that true?
Yeah, there have been challenges around that, yes.
Okay, good. Tell me what the challenges are.
Nico kind of either has an idea of what he wants to do, or he will follow somebody else, and he'll decide that quite spontaneously and then change his mind very quickly after that again. It's difficult, I think, it's still difficult for him to connect with what he actually wants to do in that moment that is the decisive one.
And am I also hearing that someone has an idea and he goes along with it without checking first about whether it works for him? Yes, that's the phenomenon?
Yeah.
Okay, so is this, what about this strategy? What if you have him share his idea first?
It's something worth trying.
And I'm curious, Joey, given that your brother has this challenge, are you willing in the family meetings for him to propose his idea first?
I am willing to, because it might be hard for him to propose his idea, and I want who it's hardest for to do it first. So it's not like they're having to wait a long time and then maybe they decide they don't want to or they change of it. All this. I'm wishing for it to be first. I don't know why, but
Oh, you don't need to know why. I think in deep within you know why. And that is what you've just said is exactly why. It's because what I heard you saying is it's because you want since he's finding it hard, you want to make it as easy as possible for him to express himself so that it's more likely that his needs are going to be met.
yeah,
And you are willing to create space for him to be able to do that. Yep, this is what it is to be human. And unfortunately, in our society, there's a lot that somehow we get away from these natural impulses of, generosity of spirit, Joey, which you've just shared. So awesome. Okay, so as we're crafting this, so my understanding of this proposal is that the experiment you're going to run is in the morning, you're going to check in about how tools are showing up during the day, and that Nico is going to speak first. And at that point is when the older people in the household are going to be actively figuring out how to handle graceful exits based on what they anticipates happening that day. How's
That would
that?
also,
Hmm?
that would also, I guess, give Hannah at that point a chance to have clarity, ability to agree or request any support or other things.
Yes. Okay. I wanted now, Joey, if we try this out, how do you feel during this experiment phase? How do you feel about the tools staying in the locked box?
I'm willing for them to, as long as they come out when why don't we agree in the morning when they come out? I'm waiting for them to stay in the lockbox, and I'm waiting for them to stay in the locked box when they're not being used.
Mhm.
It's like we don't get the whole lockbox down. People grab out what they want. It's in like me and Nico say one tool we want to use, then Papa takes the tool out, gives the tools to us, the one tool that we want to each of us, and then we use that rather than having a whole pile nearly of tools that we want to use and try out. Like we get them down one person at a time is my
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah. Okay. So, so Philip, do you like this? How do you think Nico's going to feel about the tools being in a locked box with this experiment happening? Could this work for Nico, do we think?
It would work for him if he's reassured that they will come out when he wishes to use them, and it will plan that.
We don't quite know how the beginning of breakfast happens, but we do know that it will ultimately end because at some point lunch will come. So my idea is that you anchor it that before people disperse from breakfast, there is a conversation.
And the conversation itself could help people stay together, because the person who's the most likely to disperse from breakfast is Nico. And if Nico knows that the conversation is important to him, he might.
Well, in addition, he's the one who's going to speak first at this conversation.
So he can leave after he's spoken. He doesn't have to.
No, he can't leave after he's spoken because
Rita,
he can do whatever he
I don't leave.
wants. He can do whatever he wants, Joey, but if he leaves after he's spoken, then you'll all be deprived of important information as you try to come up with what the plan for the day is. But he can, instead of leave, he can lead the meeting.
Yeah.
Nico, because we want him to be talking first anyway. So
And I think, yeah, having it at the end of breakfast would also work in terms of, not everyone will, hopefully by then everyone will have had some kind of food, so they won't be
yeah,
distracted.
angry and
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah.
To me, it seemed like Joey had certain needs, and Nico had other needs, and Philip had other needs, and I had other needs, and Cassie had other needs, and I couldn't, for whatever reason, like put them together.
I can put them together.
And yeah, a lot of what Joey was saying, like actually when Joey initially phrased his considerations, and we found that they were already like not controversial, I was surprised. That Joey wanted adults to be watching, that he wanted Cassia to be safe, or not to have unsupervised access. Like, yeah, that was a surprise to me.
Yeah, this, like, we can really trust. I have such belief and trust in people, in younger people. One thing that I like to do when there's tension between me and my kids is I like to say, so what do you think I'm concerned about? That's what I'll lead with. What do you think I'm concerned about? And they typically get 75% of my concerns. And so that's huge for me. So they're getting to flex their empathy muscles and their perspective taking muscles. It's deeply reassuring to me to be like, oh, wow, I'm seen. I don't even need to go into some explanation. And then that 25% gap that I'm like, okay, so here's these things that you're missing that are important to me. And this contributes to their learning so much because they're like, oh, wow, wait, oh, that one hadn't occurred to me at all. And they start seeing, oh, mom actually has something on the ball here. Like I was missing. Yikes. Okay, let me consult with mom and and I said, what's your takeaway? And they said, and my son, I had this thing with my younger son. He said, I'm actually going to bring you into my own process earlier because you have ideas that I don't have. What were you going to say, Joey?
Just sit up a bit so you can see you. What were you going to say? Just that it was really fun to hear that.
Yes, was fun to hear that.
To hear what your mom said was fun?
I think it was to hear what you said about your kids wanting to involve you earlier. Was that right?
What about it? It's not that it's fun for me. It's that it works for me, and I'm happy about it. It's not funness. It's that it works for me.
Yana wants to know why at the beginning of the call you said it was really important to you to have the access to the key, and by the end of the call we've agreed on a strategy that doesn't involve you having access to the key. And what is it that led to you feeling comfortable to make that change?
I want to have choice about when as well about when the tools come out, and it's easiest to have choice if I have access to the key. But if we plan it together before, it's more easy to know like when the tools are going to come out and like know when to expect.
Okay, so
somebody to
it's
take the tools out.
a different way of getting that choice.
I'm wishing. I just want to have some. I just want to be part of the decision of when they come out, and if we have that, and if we make that decision before, it's easier. It's easier to not do the other thing.
To not have the key.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Because you have like trust that it's going to happen. that you're going to get to use the tools.
Yeah, and I can and I have and I can and I can and I can be part of the choice of when they're taken out.
So you're wondering, how did it all turn out? Well, I have been in touch with Hannah, and she gave me this update. The first day that the agreement was in place, it was actually Nico, the 4-year-old, who reminded his father to lock the box. It is now more than a month later. There have been some experiments and new iterations and problem solving, but there has been no more stress related to the box, and Hannah and Philip have a lot of peace of mind that this agreement is sticking. And Nico and Joey have been tracking it all. If you would like to get some more ideas about how to have relationships with your kids that are based on trust instead of fear, I invite you to get the Stop Family Conflict Jumpstart Kit. All the details are in the details section of this video. And please also share this with anyone who you think might enjoy it or benefit from it. All right, bye for now.